Employers with 10 employees or more are required by both federal and state laws to have written safety programs based on the needs of their business or industry. These laws and regulations are designed to teach employees to develop awareness for safety at the workplace, as well as develop a basic understanding for accident prevention. The goal of safety orientation is to educate employees to anticipate accidents before they happen and reduce the number of injuries on the job site. The goal of this video is to help employees recognize and prevent common hazards in the workplace. It is a general overview and not a comprehensive training program. Your employer should provide in-depth safety training on the various hazards you will be exposed to in your workplace. The contents of this instructional video will cover positive safety attitudes in the workplace, slips, trips, and falls, musculoskeletal disorder, reducing risk of back injury, personal protective equipment, PPE, hazardous communication, fire safety, and first aid. A positive safety attitude is recognizable by the behavior of the employee. To have a positive safety attitude means to recognize potential hazards before they occur and to take steps to eliminate those hazards. An employee with a positive safety attitude will display characteristics such as alertness to their surroundings and the ability to identify hazards and ways to prevent them. Employees need to be focused on what they're doing. Always following safety rules and procedures, even if it takes longer to complete a given task. Taking personal responsibility to ensure the safety of themselves as well as their co-workers. An employee with a negative safety attitude will display characteristics such as exhibiting complacency with what they are doing and taking shortcuts that are not safe for themselves or others around them. Being distracted by their surroundings, not paying close attention to detail, or not following safety rules and procedures. Working while fatigued or making poor choices or wrong moves that result in injury to themselves or others. Slips, trips, and falls are the most common source of injuries in the workplace, but are also the easiest hazards to prevent. The leading cause of slips is due to wet surfaces caused by spills. A spill should be immediately marked and cleaned up to prevent workplace injuries. Another contributing factor to slips is the type of shoes worn by employees. Slip-resistant shoes should be worn whenever possible, especially when working in areas that are prone to be wet. Trips can result from several contributing factors. Any object obstructing the view of a path, hard-to-see walkways due to poor lighting, clutter in the walkway, wrinkled carpet, uncovered cables crossing the path, and uneven walkways, usually in doorways. Ways to prevent common causes of tripping include removing obstacles from the walking path, keeping work areas well lit by replacing burned-out light bulbs immediately, rerouting or properly covering exposed cables that cross pathways, and straightening, repairing, or removing flooring that is loose. A person is at risk of falling when working at any elevation. Falls can also be the result of slips and trips. Falls in the workplace can result from several contributing factors. Using ladders incorrectly, on uneven ground or that are damaged, using scaffolding improperly, and climbing an object without the use of fall protection. An employee can prevent most major falls by correctly using fall prevention equipment, never using a ladder or scaffold improperly, and repairing or discarding any defective equipment. Musculoskeletal disorders, or MSD, are illnesses that gradually damage muscles, tendons, and nerves in the hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, neck, and back. No job is exempt from the risk of MSD. Musculoskeletal disorders are commonly caused by repetitive motions, awkward working positions, long periods of time in one position, and the use of steady force. In today's working environment, most companies use ergonomics to help prevent musculoskeletal disorders. Ergonomics is the designing and arranging of items and equipment a person uses so they will work together more efficiently and safely. If possible, avoid sitting for long periods of time. Shift positions frequently and take breaks often to stand and stretch. Lifting any object, regardless of its weight, can cause serious injury to your back. Always use proper lifting techniques whenever you lift any object. Test object to verify it is not too heavy for one person to lift. Plan a direct route to carry the object to its new location. Bend at your hips and knees while maintaining a straight back. Keep your feet shoulder width apart. Tighten your stomach. Get a good grip on the object. Lift the object close to your body. Lift the object with your legs, not your back. Move your whole body to change directions when carrying an object. And lower the object by bending at your knees very slowly. If an object you wish to move is too heavy or bulky for you to lift alone, always work with another person. Use special equipment whenever possible to move items. OSHA requires the use of personal protective equipment to reduce employee exposure to job-related hazards when engineering and administrative controls are not feasible or effective in reducing these exposures to acceptable levels. For PPE to properly protect the user, it is important that it fits properly, it provides the correct protection, it is comfortable enough to perform the job, and it is worn properly. When working a specific job, it is important to properly select the PPE necessary to protect yourself from that job's particular hazards. Gloves are the most common and widely used form of PPE. They protect your hands from spills, cuts, chemicals, and electric shock. Different hazards require gloves made from different materials. Cotton fabric for abrasion hazards, leather for burn hazards, metal mesh for cutting hazards, rubber, neoprene, vinyl, or latex for contact with hazardous chemicals and pathogens, and specially insulated for electrical hazards. Hard hats protect the head from falling objects and bumps. Employees should never wear a metal hard hat when working with electricity. Safety glasses and goggles prevent flying objects, splashes, and ultraviolet radiation from damaging the eyes. Protective clothing such as aprons protect employees from chemical spills, heat, and sparks. Boots and safety shoes prevent foot injuries from falling objects, punctures, wet floors, electric shock, and heat. Earplugs help to protect the ears from high, intense, and loud noises that could damage your hearing. Respirators protect employees from inhaling harmful dusts, gases, and chemical mists. PPE must always be properly maintained to ensure continued protection. Always check PPE for damage after it is used. Clean the PPE before it is put away. Dispose of any single-use PPE in its proper place. Avoid storing PPE in a place that could damage it due to heat, light, or moisture. OSHA established the Hazard Communication Standard to protect employees who use hazardous chemicals on the job. You as an employee have a right to know about the hazardous chemicals used at your place of employment and the potential effects of these materials upon your health and safety. OSHA requires the employer to train employees to know what chemicals are used in the facility, what the employer is doing to protect them, the physical and health hazards of each chemical, and the procedures for protecting themselves against chemical hazards. Each chemical container must have labels that provide the individual with certain information. Labels must contain the identity of the chemical, contain the name and address of the manufacturer, state appropriate hazard warnings, and be legible in English, additional languages if desired, and prominently displayed. There is no set format for chemical labels. HMIS and NFPA are the most popular types used. NFPA uses a diamond-shaped label consisting of 4 individual color-coded diamonds. HMIS uses a label with up to 6 color-coded bars. Both types of labels have certain hazards assigned to the different colors. Each hazard is in turn assigned a number based on the severity of the chemical hazard. The rating systems are different and should not be interchanged. Chemicals that do not have labels should never be used. Each chemical should have a Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS. The MSDS is a detailed information bulletin prepared by the manufacturer or importer of a chemical and describes the chemical. Chemical manufacturers and importers must develop an MSDS for each hazardous chemical they produce or import and must provide the MSDS automatically at the time of the initial shipment of a hazardous chemical to a downstream distributor or user. MSDSs must be written in English and include information regarding the specific chemical identity of the hazardous chemicals involved and the common names for them. Provide information on the physical and chemical characteristics of the hazardous chemical. Provide information on the health hazard, acute and chronic effects. Provide information on exposure limits. Provide information on the carcinogen potential of the chemical. Provide information on generally applicable precautions for safe handling and use. Provide information on generally applicable control measures. Provide information on emergency and first aid procedures. And provide identification of the organization responsible for preparing the sheet. Fire hazards are present everywhere. Prevention is the best defense against this hazard. Your employer is required to have a fire prevention plan that minimally includes a list of major fire hazards, proper handling and storage procedures, potential fire sources and their control, and the type of equipment needed to control each major hazard, procedures to control accumulations of flammable and combustible waste material, procedures for regular maintenance of safeguards installed on heat-producing equipment to prevent or control sources of ignition or fires, and the name or job title of employees responsible for control of fuel source hazards. You should be trained about how to use the fire alarm installed in your workplace, as well as know the locations of all fire extinguishers. There are 4 different classes of fires. Class A fires are the most common. They usually ignite from wood, paper, rubber, plastic, or cloth. Class B fires are caused by flammable liquids, gases, and grease. Class C fires start from electrical currents. Class D fires involve flammable metals, including sodium, titanium, magnesium, potassium, and lithium. For each of the different classes of fires, fire extinguishers with different agents are assigned for controlling and putting them out. Water. Use on Class A only. It removes the heat. Dry chemical. Use on Class A, B, or C. It inhibits chemical reactions. Carbon dioxide. Use on Class A, B, or C. It removes the oxygen. Metal X. Use on Class D. Foam. Use on Class B. Foam suppresses vapors. During a fire emergency, you should rely on the 3 A's. Activate the fire alarm or call 911. Assist others in exiting the building. Attempt to extinguish. Only attempt to extinguish a fire when the fire is small and contained, you are safe from toxic smoke, you have a means of escape, and your instincts tell you it's okay. Only attempt to extinguish a fire if you know how to use an extinguisher. Proper use of a fire extinguisher is known as the pass system. Pull the pin by the handle, aim the hose of the extinguisher at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, sweep back and forth. Remember that fire extinguishers are only designed to fight small fires, and the extinguisher will only discharge for a short time. Always make sure you are using the correct extinguisher on the right class of fire, or you might actually make matters worse by spreading the flames. First aid is limited care for an illness or injury until trained medical attention can arrive. Not all injuries require higher levels of treatment. When a situation arises where first aid will need to be administered, be prepared. Know the location of all first aid kits, know the location of the nearest eye wash and emergency shower, and know who is cardiopulmonary resuscitation (CPR) certified in your department. The 3 P's of first aid are preserve life, prevent injury, and promote recovery. In the event of an emergency, you need to remain calm and follow these guidelines. Call for medical help. Know the phone number to be contacted. Know the type of injury. Check to see if the victim is breathing, and know the location of the victim. If necessary, move the victim away from any potential danger. Report every incident to your employer. The accident will then be investigated to help prevent it from happening again. You should always have a positive safety attitude and promote safety in your workplace. Maintain a clean work environment to prevent slips and trips. Always wear the proper PPE required by your employer. Follow all your employer's safety rules and procedures. Always pay close attention to your instructor during safety training. Ask your supervisor if you have any questions about equipment or procedures. Remember to always take your training seriously and pay attention. Know the correct emergency procedures your company has set up in case of an accident, and use safe work habits at all times. You not only protect yourself, but the lives of your fellow employees.